Man, the RTX 4090 is an absolute beast. What's that smell? Let me check on my 4090. Man, that power adapter is strange. I love cats. I love every kind of cat. I just want to hug all of them, but I can't hug every cat. Can't hug every cat. It's going to be a weird edit. So the RTX 4090 cables are still melting and blowing up. It's not going away. It's not going away. Even though NVIDIA has not spoken publicly yet about it, they have reportedly reached out to add-in board partners to send all damaged samples back to headquarters so that they could sort of inspect the damage and figure out what's going on here. So we'll talk about that. Also, The Witcher, the original Witcher game, has been confirmed by CD Projekt Red to be getting a full-on remake in Unreal Engine 5, and Gotham Knights has removed Denuvo DRM after just 5 days being for sale and in a very broken, terrible state as that game is. So maybe they're trying to curry favor with gamers. I don't know. We'll get into it. But first, today's video is brought to you by Keysfan.com and their software super deal where you can get some of the best prices out there on Microsoft software. Especially with my coupon code, you can get half off of Windows keys as well as 62% off on Microsoft Office products like Windows 10 Pro, Windows 11 Pro, and Office 2019 Professional Plus and Office 2021 Professional Plus. And they've also got a bundle with Windows 10 Pro and Office 2019 in the same package. To save money on Windows 10 Pro, just go ahead and add the key to your cart, which starts off at $15.17. But once you get into your cart, you can go ahead and apply my discount code at checkout YTB50, and that will give you a shocking 50% off, bringing the price down to just over $7 at $7.58. And when you proceed to checkout, you can pay with either a credit card or PayPal, whichever one happens to fit your needs. And this also applies to Microsoft Office products, but again, you're going to get 62% off on Office products with the code YTB62 at checkout. Applying that to the $67.40 price, Office 2019 brings the price down to a stunning $25.61. So I don't know what you're waiting for. If you need your software keys, head over to Keysfan.com right now and be sure to use those coupon codes at checkout. YTB50 on Windows products for half off, and YTB62 for 62% off on Microsoft Office products. So first up, just an update on the RTX 4090 power adapter cables melting fiasco which is going on out there. I've still not had a single issue with my cable, and I also don't believe I've heard any reports of other ones having issues with Founders Edition cards. I don't really know if that's a thing, if that's a reason behind it. There's a kind of quite a few questions I sort of have that I'm hoping that will get addressed in the next couple of days. Things like the sources of the cables and, that. So we've got some of that information here. So going over to Igor's lab, who reached out and spoke with some people and has also done some testing of his own with this, said that the cables are coming from Astron. But again, they're just a manufacturer of cables, many different types of cables. But all of these power adapters, even the ones coming from the board partner cards, have an NVIDIA branding on them. So they're made for NVIDIA cards specifically, it would seem, even though they could technically work in any other product that would use the same type of power connector. It's not like a proprietary NVIDIA cable or anything, as far as I know. But I'm curious if Astron is the only supplier of these cables, and if they are they sourcing them from NVIDIA, or are the board partners allowed to sort of go off on their own and maybe source the cables from maybe cheaper competitors to Astron? That's sort of like the question I have right now: is the source of all the cables the same exact company? And if it is, can we, switch to a different company, try something different, and then maybe they could do a recall on just the power adapters and then send out new cables to any RTX 4090 owners so that they don't have to deal with this and have to RMA their card in the future. If that's something they can do, I think great, and that would be a reasonable fix, something they could actually do without having to cross-ship people's graphics cards back and forth. It could just be having to get a new adapter, which are relatively cheap and affordable. It's going to hurt NVIDIA a little bit and bruise their reputation, which it's already done. but at least they can fix it for consumers that have these cards without having to deal with a whole RMA process for years to come, as these cards will be out there in the wild. And people will, I'm sure, if it's not addressed in some way, it's probably going to continue to happen if they can't narrow down the exact source of this problem. So Igor, in his reporting, said that such soldering process, and keep in mind this is translated from German to English, so it sounds a little broken, such soldering processes from thick to thin, as well as pressed wires without real strain relief in the plug, are technically not only mischief and grossly negligent, but actually also forbidden because they contradict all rules of electrical engineering. It's pretty harsh words, but yeah, it kind of seems to be the case in terms of like how there's not any give or slack right up at the cable. It's sort of like, it's like all exposed, very thin cables, and could be easily bent. Now, obviously, that's something that should have been avoided, but there is also some user error here, even though it really shouldn't have to be something that consumers are having to worry about when they go out and spend $1,600 on a graphics card. They should get a good solid cable where these types of leads are protected in there, and it's not going to be prone to any sort of bending that could damage them so quickly. And we'll see these right angle adapters and better quality adapters coming very soon. Some are already available from Cable Mod. So we'll definitely be seeing different adapters. And as soon as I can get a new one, I'll probably get a new one just to tidy up the build, because it doesn't really look that nice, honestly. So I'm going to probably get one of those cables. Also, on NVIDIA contacting the board partners, they said that all damaged cards need to be sent directly to headquarters for failure analysis. This is the first time. Even a few years ago, when 2080 Ti got issues with Micron, they didn't do this. So again, it's sort of like broken English because it's probably been translated through like a Google Translator type of thing. But they were referring to the 2080 Ti memory issues that they had a few years back, and they didn't do this type of thing and have all these cards sent back into NVIDIA headquarters. But it seems like that's what they're doing now, so they're taking it very serious, and hopefully we'll get a public response from NVIDIA in due time, and we can sort of get this thing addressed. Next up, something I'm really excited about. CD Projekt Red has announced via the Witcher Twitter page, as well as a blog update on their website, that they will be working with Fool's Theory on developing a complete remake of the original Witcher 1 game on Unreal Engine 5. Unreal Engine 5. Sorry, talking all over my words over there. They also said in the post that we want to do this right, so please be patient. It's going to be a while until we can share more details. So it sounds like, they're working on this, but we're probably not going to see any gameplay or anything for quite some time, probably a year or two at the minimum. I would have to predict. Now, they say that it's a remake, and I'm really hoping that it is a complete remake and that they even redo the combat. If you ever tried to play the original Witcher game, I couldn't get through it. It was already quite a few years old by the time when I played it, which is around the time I played Witcher 2, which was also a few years after that originally came out. So I sort of came into the Witcher franchise a little bit late. The Witcher 2 had already been out for a few years, like I said, and then I wanted to get the Witcher 1 and play that. I was like, well, I loved Witcher 2. This is great. But the Witcher 1 is like, it's like, even if you can deal with the dated visuals and all that stuff, which is fine, the combat is just completely different. It's not like a hack and slash, like, enemies apart like you're used to with Witcher 3. And even Witcher 2 was a lot slower than that. Witcher 3 sort of refined it quite a bit and was the best in the series, in my opinion. But the Witcher 1 was like this timing-based combat. It sort of almost felt like an MMO, but like the timing and everything, like you had to time your hits and everything, but not in a fluid and normal manner. It was odd. I've never really seen a combat system like it in any other game. And I'm just hoping that that's one of the things they can look at and improve the user interface, and, make it feel like it's, as good as The Witcher 3 or better in terms of not just visuals, but also the combat. I think should be refined and improved upon whatever they're going to have in the next Witcher game that they're going to come out with, Witcher 4 or whatever it's called, that they're making in Unreal Engine 5 also. Hopefully it's whatever combat and stuff they bring into that and interface updates they bring into that will also be in the Witcher remake, even though it's being handled by Fool's Theory, who they mentioned also a lot of their team members on Fool's Theory used to work on the Witcher games with CD Projekt Red directly, and they're over there with Fool's Theory now. So hopefully that adds to the development team, and they're actually making a good remake. Over on their blog update on the Witcher blog, they also said this: The Witcher is where it all started for us for CD Projekt Red. It was the first game we we made ever, and it was a big moment for us. Going back to this place and remaking the game for the next generation of gamers to experience, it feels just as big, if not bigger, said Adam Bukowski, head of CD Projekt Red. Collaborating with Fool's Theory on the project is just as exciting as some of the people there have been previously involved in the Witcher games. They know the source material well, they know how much gamers have been looking forward to seeing the remake happen, and they know how to make incredible and ambitious games. And although it will take some time before we're ready to share more about the game, I know it will be worth the wait, and I have no doubt as well. I'm looking forward to this. Love the Witcher games, and CD Projekt Red up until, Cyberpunk and its issues that it had at launch, which I still have not gotten around to really playing that game yet. The Witcher games I love. And I don't know, maybe it's just I prefer the fantasy thing versus the cyberpunky sci-fi type of thing. Could be the case. I mean, I love sci-fi, cyberpunk type stuff too. So I don't really think that's a huge factor for me personally. Getting off the track here. I just like The Witcher, and I'm looking forward to this, as well as the new Witcher game that's coming out from CD Projekt Red as well. Very cool to be seeing these games coming down the pipeline over the next coming years. One game I'm not really curious or interested to play at all right now is Gotham Knights, even though after just 5 days, Warner Brothers and QLOC, I guess that's the developer or something, they removed Denuvo DRM from the PC version of the game. And, a lot of people thought, hey, well, maybe the game's going to run better now. No, it still runs like a complete bag of shit, dropping from like 80 FPS down to the mid-30s for no apparent reason whatsoever, even though there's not any sort of CPU or bottleneck there or anything like that. It's just a dog shit port handled for a terrible game, which is like literally the Avengers. I had no idea when they were developing this game that it was going to be like this looter. I knew it was going to have co-op, which I was fine with. I was like, oh, that's cool. A Batman game with co-op. How could that be bad? But it's not the same type of game. It's a grindy little fucking Avengers type shit fest. You just have to grind shit to get gear and loot. And it's just another one of those games, another one of those fucking clones like Destiny. Marvel tried to do it with the Avengers game. That was a complete fail. Gotham Knights tried to do it. Performance issues aside, on the PC, it's still a complete failure of a game entirely. So Denuvo being removed for this, I could really care less. Although they will probably likely crack it now. Usually when this happened, it's like because the game got cracked, so they removed the Denuvo. It's like, well, it's just there anyway, and we're having to keep up to date with it, and the game's already been cracked, so what's the point? But in this case, it hasn't been cracked, although now it likely will be cracked since Denuvo was removed from the game, even though, it's not. Some people are theorizing that maybe this was by accident. It's not the first time it would have been an accident where developers removed it, but I think Bethesda did it with one of their games by accident, and then it got cracked like immediately, so then they removed the DRM intentionally afterwards, like they took it back and then whatever. But yeah, it wouldn't be the first time that it was accidentally removed, and that could be what happened here. It doesn't really matter. Now that it's out of the game, it's probably going to stay out, and I'm sure the cracking groups have already gotten access to this Denuvo DRM free version before they can patch it in, as it still hasn't been done yet. And they could just crack that copy. They don't need any of the newer copies. It might prevent them from being able to release updates for cracked copies. Potentially, it's possible. But otherwise they'll be able to crack the game and people will be able to play this broken, buggy pile of shit, which is definitely not worth the asking price. What was it, like $60-$70? Nah, I'm good, bro. I'm good on that one. But that's all I've got for you guys today. Hope you all have a fantastic day. And let me know your thoughts on all the topics we covered down in the comments below. And I will catch you next time for another video. Also, if you're still watching, next week, probably going to be a fairly sporadic upload schedule, as I'm going to be out of town in Las Vegas for some work stuff. Maybe you'll hear about it throughout the week next week, but my upload schedule is going to be a little off, as I'll be traveling a couple of days next week, so be aware of that. And otherwise, I'll catch you guys tomorrow probably for another video, or maybe even later today for a Sackboy PC port report. All right, I'll talk to you then. Peace.